Hi, boys and girls. So I'm continuing with the review. Problem 5 says Gus packs 573 cans of food into 3 large boxes. If each box has the same number of cans, how many cans of food are in each box? So I'm going to do my cubes, circle my important numbers. 573 cans. I have 3 large boxes. I'm going to underline my question. If each box has the same number of cans, how many cans are in each box? I'm going to rewrite my question. It's looking for number of cans in each box. I'm going to box in my keywords. So each tells me that I might multiply or I might divide. I have same number, and it says how many cans. Okay. So I'm going to do my get so I can see what am I doing. Am I multiplying? Am I dividing? I know my total is 573. If each is in my question, that means I do not know it. So that means my groups must be my 3 boxes. So I'm going to be doing 573 divided by 3 because I know my total. I know my groups, but I'm looking for my each, okay? I'm going to put it in my chart. My dividend is my big number, so 573. And my divisor is going to be 3. I'm going to set it up. 5 goes in the first one, 7 in the second box, 3 in the third box. And my divisor 3 was going to go on the side. I write my steps: divide, multiply, subtract, bring up, repeat. And I'm going to take out my multiplication chart really quick to help me out. Okay, so I asked myself how many times 3 can go into 5 because I'm going to be dividing. So I look here. If I go into my 3's, I'm looking for 5 or less. 6 is too big, so I use my 3. I go up, I get 1. So I'm going to put 1 at the very top. I divided. My next step is to multiply. I do 3 times 1, I get 3. I subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. I bring up, I get 27. And I do rover start over. So I'm going to go all the way back to my divide, and I ask myself again, how many times can 3 go into 27? So I go into my chart. I go into my 3's. I'm looking for 27 or less. 27 is right here. I go up. I get 9. So my 9 is going to go on my very top. I divide it. Now I multiply. 3 times 9 is 27. I subtract. 27 minus 27 is 0. I bring up my 0. I do rover start over, and I go all the way back to divide. So I ask myself, how many times can 3 go into 3? It would be 1 time. I put my 1 on the top. I multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. I subtract. 3 minus 3 is 0. So my answer is 191 with the remainder of 0. So to answer my problem, number of cans in each box, it'd be 191 cans. Number 6 says D has 54 planks of wood to make a fence around her house. She will use the same number of planks for each side of the fence. How many planks of wood will she use for each of the 4 sides? So I'm going to do my cubes, circle my important numbers. So I have 54 planks. And I have my 4 sides. I'm going to change it to a regular 4. Okay. Underline my question. How many planks of wood will she use for each of the 4 sides? I'm going to rewrite my question. It's looking for number of planks for each side. I'm going to box in my important numbers. Same number. Each tells me I'm either going to multiply or divide. How many planks? Again, that each. And now I'm going to do my get. So I have my groups, my each, my total. My total is going to be my 54 planks. If each is in my question, that means I do not know it. My groups is my 4 sides. So if I know my total, I know my groups, but I'm looking for my each, I'm going to divide 54 divided by 4. And I already have my chart here. So my dividend is my bigger number, 54, and my divisor is my smaller number, 4. I put 5 in the first box, 4 in the second box, and my divisor goes on the side. Put my steps, divide, multiply, subtract, bring up, repeat. I'll take out my multiplication chart to help me. Okay, so first I'm going to divide. I ask myself how many times 4 can go into 5. If I look here, I go into 4, I need to find 5 or less. 8 is too big. If I go to 4, I get 1. So that 1 is going to go on the very top. I divide it. Now I multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. I multiply. Now I subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. I bring up. I get 14. I do rover start over, and I go all the way back to divide. I ask myself how many times 4 can go into 14. So I go here, I go to 4. I need to find 14 or less. 16 is too big, so I get 12. I go up, I get 3. 3 is going to go on the top. I divided. Now I multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. And I subtract. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So my answer is 13 with the remainder of 2. So I'm going to put that here, 13 with the remainder of 2. Now I have to see which one says that. Okay. It's very important that we look at this part. Okay. So I have some at the bottom that say 12 planks, 12 planks. There's no 12 anywhere in my answer. So I immediately can take this out, okay? Now, A says each side will use 13 planks of wood. There will be 0 left over. Remember, your leftover means your remainder, okay? My remainder is my leftover. So if I look at my remainder, my leftover, I have 2. I do not have 0, so I can get rid of A. B says each side will use 13 planks of wood. I have 13 here. There will be 2 left over, and I do have a remainder of 2 left over. So my answer is B. 7 says, Nick uses 3 dowels to make 1 birdhouse. If he bought 85 dowels, how many birdhouses will he be able to make? How many dowels will be left over? So I'm going to do my cube, circle my important numbers, 3 dowels, 85 dowels, underline my question. If he bought 85 dowels, how many birdhouses will be able to make? And how many dowels will be left over? I have 2 questions here, so I'm going to rewrite them. My first question is number of bird houses. My second question is how many dowels left over. Okay, I'm going to box in my keywords. Okay, how many birdhouses left over? Remember, left over means it's looking for your remainder. Okay, and I have that same word right here left over. So I'm going to do my get. I have my groups, my each, my total. My total is 85. Okay, and it says he uses 3 dowels to make 1 birdhouse. Okay, so 3 dowels for each birdhouse. See how I'm saying that? 3 dowels for each birdhouse. So my each is going to be my 3. My groups is my number of houses, which I do not know. So if I know my total, I know my each, but I'm looking for my groups, I'm going to divide. I'm dividing 85 by 3. Okay, so I'm going to go into my chart. My dividend's 85, my divisor's 3, put it in, 8, 5, 3 goes on the side. I have my steps, divide, multiply, subtract, bring up, repeat. Okay, so 3 can go into 8. 2 times, I'm going to put 2 on the top. I divide it. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, 8 minus 6 is 2. I bring up my 2, and I do row over, start over. So I go all the way back to divide. 3 can go into 25. Okay, so if we don't know, we can use our chart. This multiplication chart is very handy, but remember, boys and girls, we cannot rely on it, okay? Because when we take our STAR test, we'd have to make our own. So if I go into 3s, I'm trying to find 25 or less, okay? 27's too big, so I can get 24. I go up, I get 8. So 8's going to go on the top. I multiply. 3 times 8 is 24. I subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. So my quotient, my answer is 28 with the remainder of 1. Okay, and I'm going to put that here. 28, remainder 1. So to answer my questions, number of birdhouses, 28 birdhouses. How many dowels were left over? That's my remainder. 1 was left over. So I'm looking for 28 and 1. The only one that says that is C. Okay, 8 says a jeweler has 96 necklaces to display. He puts an equal number in each of 4 display trays. How many necklaces are in each tray? So I'm going to do my cube, circle my important numbers. 96 necklaces, 4 display trays. I'm going to underline my question. How many necklaces are in each tray? I'm going to rewrite my question. I'm looking for number of necklaces in each tray. I'm going to box in my keywords. So an equal number. Each tells me I'm either going to multiply or divide. And how many necklaces? And I have that word each again. So I'm going to do my get, my groups, each, total. My total is going to be my 96 necklaces. If each is in my question, that means I do not know it. And my groups are my 4 trays. So if I know my total, I know my groups, but I'm looking for my each, I'm going to be doing 96 divided by 4. So I'm going to put it in my chart. My dividend is my bigger number, 96. 4, put 9 here, 6 here, 4 on the side, write my steps, divide, multiply, subtract, bring up, repeat. Okay. So I asked myself how many times 4 can go into 9. If I go here, I'm looking at my 4s. I'm looking for 9 or less. 12 is too big, so I go to 8, and I go up, I get 2. So 4 can go into 9 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. I bring up my 1. I get 16. I do rover start over. I go all the way back to divide. So if I go to 4, I need to see how many times 4 can go into 16. 16 is right here. I go up. I get 4. So I know 4 can go into 16 4 times. I divided. Now I multiply. 4 times 4 is 16. And I subtract. 16 minus 16 is 0. So my quotient, or my answer, is 24. 24. How many necklaces are in each tray? 24 necklaces. Okay. Number 9 says a school spent $1,902 on 6 new microscopes for science classes. Each microscope cost the same amount of money. How much did each microscope cost? I'm going to circle my important numbers. 1,902, 6 new microscopes. Underline my question. How much did each microscope cost? I'm going to rewrite my question. It's looking for number of each. Not number. Whoops. It's looking for cost of each microscope. Box in my keywords. Each tells me I'm either going to multiply or divide. Same number. Okay, each again. So I'm going to do my get so I can figure out, am I multiplying? Am I dividing? My total is going to be 1,902. If each is in my question, that means I do not know it. My groups have to be my 6 microscopes. So if I know my total, I know my groups, but I'm looking for my each, I'm going to divide 1,902 divided by 6. Okay. So for this one, I do not have a chart, so I'm going to draw out my box. I'm going to make my 4 sections because there's 4 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put my numbers in there. 1, 9, 0, 2. 6 goes on the side. And now I can put my steps, divide, multiply, subtract, bring up, repeat. And now I'm going to divide. So how many times can 6 go into 1? 6 cannot go into 1, so I'm going to put a 0. I divided, now I multiply. 6 times 0 is 0. I subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. I bring up. I get 19. And I do rover start over. So I go all the way back to divide. I ask myself how many times 6 can go into 19. It can go in there 3 times. I multiply. 6 times 3 is 18. I subtract. 19 minus 18 is 1. I bring up my 1. I do rover start over, and I go all the way back to divide. I ask myself how many times can 6 go into 10. Okay, so I know it's going to be 1 time. I multiply. 6 times 1 is 6. I subtract. 10 minus 6. So I cannot do 0 minus 6. Take away from the 1. It becomes a 0. 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay, I subtracted. I bring up my 4. And I do rover start over. So I go all the way back to divide. And I ask myself how many times can 6 go into 42? It will be 7. I multiply. 6 times 7 is 42. I subtract. 42 minus 42 is 0. So my quotient, or my answer, is $317. That is how much money each microscope cost? Last problem says each locker requires 3 feet of space. How many lockers can the school install in 42 feet of space? I'm going to do my cube, circle my important numbers. 3 feet, 42 feet of space. Underline my question, how many lockers can the school install in 42 feet of space? I'm going to rewrite my question. It's looking for number of lockers. Okay. I'm going to box in my keywords. Each tells me they're going to multiply or divide. I'm looking for how many lockers. I'm going to do my get, my groups, my each, my total. My total is 42. My each is, it tells me each locker requires 3 feet of space. So my each is going to be my 3. My groups is my number of lockers, which I do not know. So I'm going to be doing 42 divided by 3. I'm going to use my chart. My dividend's my bigger number, 43. My divisor is 3. 4 in the first box, 3 in the second box. My divisor is going to go on the side. Write my steps, divide, multiply, subtract, bring up, repeat. Okay? So I divide. How many times can 3 go into 4? It's going to be 1 time. I multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. I subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. I bring up. I do rover, start over. So I go all the way back to divide. I ask myself, how many times can 3 go into 13? It will be 4. I multiply. 3 times 4 is 12. And I subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So my answer is 14 with the remainder of 1. And it says number of lockers, it will be 14. Okay, so please go over the video. If you have any questions, let me know. And please, guys, do all of your steps, do your get, circle. Please rewrite your question so you can interpret what is it asking you to do.